In the deepest archives of archaeological research lies a case file that challenges everything modern science believes about ancient mythology. What investigators discovered in the mountains of Boeotia, Greece, suggests that some legends may be terrifyingly real. The evidence points to something far more disturbing than mere folklore. But first, subscribe to be part of our community seeking the truth. It was March 15th, 2019, just before dawn broke over the rocky terrain of Mount Helicon in central Greece. The archaeological team from the University of Athens had been excavating a previously unknown Bronze Age settlement when they uncovered something that would fundamentally alter their understanding of Greek mythology. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a 34-year-old specialist in Mycenaean civilization, had been leading the dig for 3 months. The site, located approximately 12 kilometers northeast of the ancient city of Thespe, contained pottery fragments and bronze tools dating back to the 13th century BCE. Nothing in the preliminary surveys had suggested anything unusual about this particular location. The discovery began when graduate student Dimitri Kostas noticed an anomaly in the ground-penetrating radar readings. The scans revealed a perfectly circular chamber buried 8 meters beneath the surface, its walls appearing to be constructed from an unknown material that absorbed radar waves rather than reflecting them back. When the excavation team finally breached the chamber 3 days later, they found themselves staring into a space that defied archaeological conventions. The circular room measured exactly 13 meters in diameter, its walls carved from a single piece of black stone that geological analysis would later fail to identify. The surface of the stone displayed a mirror-like finish that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. At the center of the chamber sat a rectangular pedestal carved from the same mysterious material. Upon this pedestal rested the remnants of what appeared to be an ancient container, its fragments scattered in a precise pattern that suggested deliberate arrangement rather than accidental destruction. The container fragments, when carefully reconstructed, revealed a box measuring 30 centimeters in length, 20 centimeters in width, and 15 centimeters in height. The material appeared to be neither wood nor metal, but something that combined properties of both. Carbon dating proved impossible, as the material contained no organic compounds that modern science could identify. More disturbing than the box itself were the inscriptions covering every surface of the chamber walls. The text was written in Linear B script, the ancient Mycenaean writing system, but the content bore no resemblance to any known Mycenaean record. The inscription spoke of a woman named Pandora, described not as a mythological figure, but as a real person who had lived in this very location. According to the translated text, Pandora was the daughter of a local chieftain who had discovered the box while exploring caves in the surrounding mountains. The inscriptions described the box as having been sealed with warnings in an even more ancient language, possibly pre-Greek, that she had been unable to read or understand. The translation revealed that Pandora had indeed opened the container, but the consequences were far more specific and terrifying than the familiar myth suggested. The inscriptions described the release of 7 distinct entities, each named and described in meticulous detail. These were not abstract concepts like hope or despair, but actual beings with physical forms and malevolent purposes. The first entity, called Nosophoros, was described as a writhing mass of diseased flesh that spread plague wherever it traveled. The second, Limos, appeared as an emaciated figure that could drain the fertility from crops and livestock with its touch. The third, Thanatos, took the form of a shadow that could separate souls from living bodies. Archaeological evidence supported these disturbing accounts. Excavations in the surrounding area revealed mass burial sites containing hundreds of skeletons, all dating to the same period as the chamber. The bones showed signs of diseases unknown to modern medicine, with deformities and decay patterns that defied explanation. More unsettling was the discovery of agricultural remains that told a story of sudden and complete crop failure. Preserved seeds and plant matter showed cellular damage consistent with some form of rapid desiccation. The most disturbing evidence came from the skeletal remains themselves. Several dozen skeletons were found in positions that suggested they had simply collapsed where they stood, with no signs of struggle or external injury. Medical examination revealed that the bones had been somehow hollowed out from within, leaving behind empty shells that crumbled. The inscriptions continued with accounts of the remaining 4 entities, each more terrible than the last. Eris appeared as a beautiful woman whose presence turned friends into enemies and caused communities to tear themselves apart. Apat took the form of a shifting figure that could make people believe lies so completely that they would act against their own survival instincts. The 6th entity, Ponos, was described as a creature that fed on human suffering, growing stronger as it inflicted physical and emotional pain on its victims. The 7th and final being, Jiras, appeared as an ancient crone whose touch could age living things to death within moments. What made these accounts particularly credible was their correlation with historical records from the period. Ancient texts from neighboring settlements described a time of unprecedented catastrophe in the region, with plagues, famines, and social upheavals that lasted for several generations before mysteriously ending. The inscriptions revealed that Pandora had spent years trying to recapture the entities she had released, eventually succeeding in returning 6 of the 7 to their prison. The box was then destroyed to prevent any future release, but the 7th entity had escaped beyond her reach. The identity of this remaining entity was carved into the chamber wall in letters twice the size of the surrounding text. The name was Elpis, which scholars had always translated as hope in the traditional myth. However, the Linear B inscriptions used a different term that more accurately meant false expectation or delusory anticipation. According to the ancient account, Elpis was the most dangerous of all the entities because it prevented humans from accepting reality. It fed on human desperation, growing stronger as people clung to impossible dreams and refused to acknowledge the truth of their circumstances. The excavation team made their most disturbing discovery when they attempted to document the chamber using digital photography. Every image captured showed not just the empty room they could see with their eyes, but also shadowy figures standing along the walls, watching the archaeologists work. Video recordings revealed even more unsettling details. The shadow figures moved independently of any light source, and their positions changed between frames in ways that suggested they were aware of being observed. Enhancement of the audio tracks revealed whispers in ancient Greek, repeating the same phrase over and over. The translation of these whispers proved to be a warning directed at the excavation team. The voices spoke of Elpis still wandering the world, seeking a new container that would allow it to gather its scattered companions and complete the work that Pandora had interrupted centuries ago. Laboratory analysis of the chamber's atmosphere revealed chemical compounds that should not have been able to exist in an enclosed space for 3,000 years. The air contained traces of organic materials that suggested the presence of living tissue, despite the chamber being completely sealed since ancient times. More disturbing was the discovery that the chamber's temperature remained constant at exactly 37 degrees Celsius, the temperature of human blood, regardless of external weather conditions. The walls themselves seemed to generate this heat, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the human heartbeat. The excavation was officially suspended after team members began experiencing shared nightmares, featuring the same woman who identified herself as Pandora. In these dreams, she warned that the chamber should be resealed immediately, as its opening had created a beacon that would draw Elpis back to its place of origin. The dreams intensified when several team members reported seeing the same woman during waking hours, always standing at the edge of their vision and always pointing toward the chamber. Local villagers confirmed that they too had been seeing this figure, describing her as wearing ancient Greek clothing and appearing to be in a state of great distress. The final entry in the official excavation log described an incident that led to the immediate closure of the site. Dr. Vasquez reported that she had descended into the chamber alone to take final measurements when she discovered that the fragments of the destroyed box had rearranged themselves into a different pattern. The new arrangement of the fragments formed a perfect outline of the original container, as if something invisible was holding the pieces in their proper positions. When she attempted to photograph this phenomenon, her camera captured not the fragments but an intact box, sealed and whole, sitting on the pedestal exactly as it must have appeared 3,000 years ago. The photograph showed something else that made the research team abandon the site within hours. Reflected in the surface of the reconstructed box was not Dr. Vasquez's face, but the face of a woman in ancient Greek dress, her expression one of absolute terror and her mouth open in a silent scream. The excavation site was sealed by order of the Greek Ministry of Culture, and all research materials were classified under national security provisions. The official report stated that the site contained unstable geological formations that posed a danger to researchers. However, seismic monitoring equipment installed around the sealed chamber continues to detect rhythmic vibrations emanating from beneath the ground. The pattern of these vibrations matches the cadence of human breathing, as if something large and alive were resting in the chamber, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Satellite imagery of the region shows an expanding dead zone around the excavation site, where vegetation has begun to wither and die in a perfect circle that grows larger each month. Local wildlife has abandoned the area entirely, and domestic animals refuse to approach within a kilometer of the sealed chamber. The most unsettling aspect of the case remains the worldwide increase in reported sightings of a woman matching Pandora's description. These sightings always occur near archaeological sites, museums, or locations where ancient artifacts are stored. Witnesses consistently report that she appears to be searching for something, examining containers and boxes with desperate intensity. Security footage from the British Museum, the Louvre, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art all show the same figure moving through storage areas during hours when the facilities were locked and empty. The woman appears to be able to pass through solid barriers and remains visible to cameras despite being undetectable to electronic security systems. The investigation into the Pandora chamber was officially closed when the lead researcher, Dr. Vasquez, disappeared from her hotel room in Athens. The room was found locked from the inside, with no signs of struggle or forced entry. The only clue to her fate was a message written in linear B script on the bathroom mirror. The message, when translated, reads simply, "She has found what she was looking for." What do you think happened to Dr. Vasquez in that sealed chamber, and could the entity known as Elpis really still be wandering among us? Subscribe to explore more cases where ancient myths reveal themselves to be terrifyingly real.